New Year. Okay, someone had just asked about if I could explain how a person who doesn't have a lawyer or representative might be able to get a copy of their entire file when they're trying to pursue their own claim pro se. So I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to show you the form. It's the form, and then you can, you smack whatever note you want on it. And here's an example of just such a putting in information that you want on the form, clarifications, whatever. I will add that this is what you send to the SSA if you are not yet at the level where you have sought an ALJ hearing. And I say that because when you have a pending hearing, you can call the Office of Hearings Operations, OHO. That's where your ALJ, Administrative Law Judge, is at. Not that you're going to speak to your judge, but you will be able to get somebody on the phone eventually. And if you have a claim pending there, they will send you a copy of your file so that you can work up what you need to do before hearing. They may try to send it by CD. If you're fine with a CD, so be it. I personally am not, so I insist on other avenues of getting it, such as email it to me. If you're a claimant, I believe they can get it uploaded to your SSA file, my account, my SSA file, whatever it is there on the internet. But and as a lawyer, I couldn't get it that way because that's your access, not anybody else's. Of course, as a lawyer, if you have a representative who practices at least beyond minimally, they're going to have access to your electronic file, and that's where the whole file is. So this is really only for pro se people or people who have a representative who doesn't actually practice in the field. And that could be a family member. Maybe they're your rep, trying to help you. Okay, so the form we're talking about is the SSA 3288. Give me a minute. I'm going to try to share the screen with you, and I'm not good with this, as some of you already know. I got so many multiple screens. It's like, and I'm soon to have ones that I can move where I want. Yes. Supposedly, I got something for Christmas from my honey, but then it turns out my monitors won't work with it because they don't have screw holes in the back. Who knew? So I might have to get 2 new monitors. Anyway, we'll see. It'll just make it easier for space limitations. Okay, so you're looking at what I'm looking at. So here's just an example, okay? Not necessarily, it doesn't work all the time. I will tell you that sometimes the field office will insist they can't do that and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the excuses can be varied, inconsistent, and clearly not in line with Social Security policy. This is what you get when you get someone on the phone who doesn't know what they're talking about. So this is just an example of a verbiage one could put on the front page, maybe in a little cover letter that you do. Attached, please find duly executed SSA 3288. Please note that I, as a beneficiary or current claimant with a program purpose, I'll explain that in a minute, am entitled to, as per SSA rules, then see attached copy for your information. 1, a free copy of the requested material. 2, in full, I need not explain all parts of file desired as per the attached rule. And 3, I'm entitled to same via email as provided for in the release address. Thank you for your anticipated, kind, professional, and expeditious cooperation. Okay. Yeah, that's me with high expectations, right? Okay. So here, I'm going to say, just so you could see, Form SSA 3288, it is 1 page to fill out, okay? The rest is things I've attached for people who want to use this one that are my clients or whoever. Okay, so here, if you're requesting your file go to you because you are a pro se person, you're not sending it to your lawyer or anybody else. Here you're going to put your full name, right? Here you're going to put your date of birth, and here you're going to put your Social Security number. It's kind of self-evident, right? So forgive me for saying the obvious. This is so here would be if you are sending it to somebody else, like your lawyer or a friend or goodness knows. Notice here it says I authorize the Social Security Administration to release information or records about me to and then it says name of person or organization. Here, it's plugged in myself if you're sending it to yourself. You can always then put in your name here, put in, it doesn't ask for your address here, it asks for it over here, your address. Now here is extra verbiage you could put in. Let's say you don't want it on CD, that they seem to be dead set on sending you. I mean, really, why? It's not exactly green. If the federal government claims it wants to be green, half the time they don't work. They require a password. What if they don't send you the password, which they rarely do? Then you have to go chase down someone who can find you the password. And if you don't have a CD reader, I know I'm a Mac person. Not only do I not have a CD reader in my system, I bought little CD readers for this purpose, and half the time the CDs are not readable. You know, I've gotten SSA staff on the phone that says, I've never had that problem. No one's ever complained to me about their CD. They probably just don't complain because they give up, honestly. You get a CD and it doesn't work. Are you going to go back to that office and say it didn't work when you've already waited like 3 hours on hold? It's probably not going to happen. I know it's very frustrating, so people give up. So I literally have, here are options. And I would check off the ones that apply. No CD, check. Only email, if that's the way you want it, check. Or check it if PDF to your My SSA account file is something that you're okay with. Make sure you know how to get into your SSA account file, all right? Don't send it there and then realize that you can't connect to it. There are people, it's kind of intermittent, people that can't connect. Somehow the information they're putting in to connect does not match with what the SSA says, or so the SSA online site is telling them, and they can't get in. Okay, so if it was, well, you pick which one you want. All right, we do our own way here. Everyone to each his own. Here they ask for, I want this information released because, and then there's a line. So this is stuck in here as a response. Program purposes as noted below. The reason why we specify program purposes is because if it's program purposes, they have to give you one free copy as opposed to charging you. Now what, you might ask, do they charge? I've seen in writing where it's $10, and I haven't seen a COLA application to that. And that's kind of an inside joke. But I've also seen a letter come back to me when a client was asking it to be sent to me that said, literally it was a letter from the field office staffer saying that it costs $40. So of course I wrote back and said, it absolutely does not cost $40. You're going to send it to me for free, blah, blah, blah. And what you're saying is a violation. So please don't do it. Okay. Program purposes, if you're in, here's some examples of program purposes. So I've thrown in examples here. You don't have to do this. You would have these two big lines where you could just explain. For instance, let's say you are deciding to appeal, or you're pursuing an appeal, say for reconsideration, that you've already filed, but you have no idea what they have in their file on you because nobody sent it to you, because they don't do that. And you're not an attorney or a rep, so you don't actually have access to get in and see it. Okay, you might check deciding to appeal. You have to decide. Sometimes you're going to decide not to appeal because you're going to see that your case is terrible. Your medical records are terrible. And you might be like, I'm not going to appeal. I'm going to get my ducks in a row with my evidence and my treatment. And then I open. To each his own, you know, just make sure you know what you're doing when you decide not to appeal. Here's another one up here. Reopen request, full file of most recent. And in this case, it was a 9/14/2020 application. This would be in the case of you were denied, usually on initial or recon. And in this case, this person was denied on 9/14/2020. And you're filing anew. Sometimes when we file anew, if that prior denied application that was denied without an ALJ hearing, because you didn't pursue an ALJ hearing, you just got denied and the person didn't appeal, sometimes we can get that old one reopened. So let's say they were denied an initial and they did not appeal for reconsideration. If we have good reason, and that's kind of a term of art, including, let's say there was evidence that the SSA never got on initial and they denied, and now we have that evidence and we say, if they had this could have been a different result. We're going to ask for a reopen. The beauty of the reopen on the new application is that it would, instead of being a 2020, we're now in 2024, guys, Happy New Year. instead of it being a 2024 application, which means back benefits for Social Security disability at best would only be 12 months before the date of application. So therefore going back to early 2023, we can get this 2020 reopened. And now you could feasibly go back to, assuming you were disabled and can prove it, September 2019, right? 12 months before this date of application. That could be a heck of a lot of back benefits to somebody. If the shoe fits, if the numbers fit, if the disability fits, and all the evidence. So these are things we do now. So hopefully, if we prove a case, we do a lot of things now to lay the groundwork for some better results later. So a lot of times when claimants will say, well, why do I have to do this? Well, there are reasons. We lay the foundation now for things that we can't lay the foundation for later. It has to be done now. This may or may not pan out, but it's never going to pan out if you don't ask for it. And we have secured probably hundreds of thousands of dollars for people by doing a reopen. A little here, a little there. It could be someone gets 20, someone gets 50, but it happens. It's not the most common scenario, but it's quite regular, I'd say. This particular example of a program purpose down here, to show prospective attorney for representation consideration. I think this is really important. If you've been searching for a lawyer, a lot of times they'll say, well, I need to see your file, or I don't know what's in your file, or get me your file and I'll take a look at it and then I'll decide whether I'm going to pop in and represent you. To me, that's a program purpose. Now, I do not know how the SSA will take a program purpose if you don't have a pending claim, but you're hoping to plan to. They're probably going to say it's not a program purpose because you don't have anything pending. I don't know for sure that they will say that, but they could. Like, what if you're saying, I need my copy of my old file because I need to know if I'm going to be filing a new and I need to look at that evidence. I think that's a program purpose, but they might not, which I think is wrong, considering the fact that they're only going to give you one and everything else they're going to charge you for. So give them their one. They're taxpayers. Well, usually they're taxpayers. Okay, so that's what that one is. The fourth one here, down here, need all prior application files for evidence for pending claim. Sometimes people have multiple prior attempts to prevail and they failed, but there can be medical evidence there that if you file now and you try to order that medical evidence, it no longer exists. The provider has purged their files. This is particularly true if they're, several years old. But here they're sitting nice and safe in the SSA coifers. And you want that because there's no other way to get it. They're the only one that likely has it. So I think that, and plus, not to mention, if you get it from the SSA, you don't pay for those records, but if you go and order it yourself from your provider, assuming they still have it, they're going to charge you. So why is that even fair, right? Okay, so that's where we're putting in what our program purpose is. Down here, these are basically nothing. This is not generally what you're going to be wanting to do this for. Although you could, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're trying to get your full file because you had a claim. You're not necessarily trying to get your Social Security number because you can't remember it, blah, blah, blah. So 1 through 6, I would never even use. 7 is complete medical records from and notice how this is their language, claims folder or folders. So you would think if you check that off, they have to give you the medical files, the medical records sections from every application you've ever done, if you've done multiples. I've never seen them actually competently do that. Even when you put the date of the application, if you know it, sometimes you don't know it, you're like, I think it was 17 or 18. It shouldn't matter. You should just say the most recent or all of them, and they should just zip it down to you. End of story. None of this BS. But a lot of times when we specify, out of consideration, even though it shouldn't be necessary, a particular application year, because we know what happened in a certain year, I've seen them send the actual, to me, I've seen them send the actual current pending claim folder. I have access to that. I want to say doofus, but I know that's not professional. But why would you be sending the lawyer the current pending folder when you know I'm connected to the ERA? I've been working with the SSA for 20 years, So they don't necessarily read. Sometimes they're not that competent, whoever's the one doing this. And of course, then you do have competent ones. So we're not saying that about everybody, but this is what you have to deal with on a very regular basis. So number 8 to me is the one I suggest we use most of the time. Other records from my file. Now notice, and this is what a viewer brought up, it says, we will not honor a request, I'm reading right here, or quote, any and all records, unquote, or quote, the entire file, unquote. You must specify other records. For example, consultative examinations, award denial notices, benefit applications, appeals, questionnaires, doctor reports, determinations. I will beg to differ with that. I think they are violating the rules right now by even putting that in here. It is misleading and it is misinformation, because if you go to, follow the arrow, folks, DI 81001.035, the SSA is not permitted to restrict in this matter. And, quote, all documents that make up the case file must be included, unquote, see attached POMs. So this is, in my opinion, unless I see something to the contrary, false. So if we were to check off this entire file from, now, if I want one file from a particular date of application and I know that date of application, I would put this in here just to be helpful. I put the date in that I know the application was from, but by and large, I don't think one's going to know that information. It could be 5 years ago. Who remembers the date they applied? If they have no more documents, they didn't keep their stuff, they had a house fire, whatever, that shouldn't be necessary. And then I put in here, as per DI, blah, blah, blah. You cannot fail to honor this request despite the erroneous verbiage attached to number 8 above, see attached. That's me, because I get a little bit pushy, guys. You don't have to word anything that way. You can be a little bit more sweet. But I just get beyond the point of tolerance at times. So I have to be kind of firm. I'm going to show you what this DI is attached. Down here is where you sign. You put in your address. If you are not the subject of the record, then obviously you're not going to have permission to do it necessarily, unless maybe you're the representative. Here, date, your daytime telephone. Let me give you 2 spots for that, for whatever reason. You generally don't need a witness to sign it, only if you sign with an X because you are unable to sign your own name. All right, so let's go on to the attachment that I attach. I literally attach this when I send it. It's that POMS section that we alluded to, the DI 81001.035. It's called copying a certified electronic folder, CEF, to compact disc or portable, which is CD, or portable document format, PDF. PDF is how you get it emailed to you, or how you get it uploaded to your My SSA account file. CD is when they burn it to a CD and they send it to you. It's encrypted. There's a password. You hope that they send you the password as well. There's a certain formula for the password, so it's kind of easy to figure out. But anyway, and here I just previously been underlined various areas that are important. Look at this. When I'm right here. When a claimant, beneficiary, or appointed representative requests a copy of the official file folder in either paper or electronic format, all documents that make up the case must be included. All documents that make up the case must be included. The official disability case folder consists of documentation per this section that you can go look up. Requests for certified copies of a CEF must be forwarded to the regional office per blah, blah, blah. All documents that make up the case must be included. So pray tell, how on earth can they get away with sticking this in their form? Their own rules, so they can't do that. I find it highly offensive. And trust me when I say it takes a lot to offend me, because nothing offends me. All right, so scrolling on down, you can read that. This page, sending to an encrypted PDF via secure email. They have it right in their own procedures manual, program manual. Their operations, how to send it to your email. To encrypt a PDF and send it to the claimant's personal email. Your personal email. It could be your Yahoo, your AOL, your Hotmail, whatever. It doesn't have to be something special. Take these following steps. All right. So right here, we know for sure that they are supposed to do this. or else this wouldn't be in here. G, sending the PDF to my Social Security account, my SSA account. That's how they explain. To send a PDF copy of e-folder documents to a my SSA account, take the following steps. We all have a my SSA account. Hopefully most of us can get into it. And then lastly, but not least, they talk about the CD fee policy. They can't charge you, I dare say, for any of this. Certified electronic folder, CD fee policy. A claimant is entitled to one free copy of the file for program purposes. If the request is for non-program purposes, for instance, let's say you want that medical file because you've got a personal injury case going on, and this is a great way to get those medical records for your personal injury case, and you don't then have to go pay the exorbitant fees some of these providers are charging. That is one reason why that's a non-program purpose, and I will agree that that is a non-program purpose. And yes, you should be charged. If the request is for non-program purposes, or there is a request for a second or subsequent copies of the file burned onto a CD, blah, 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 see this section for current fees. So that, I would assume those fees do change over time. I haven't looked it up. It was $10 the last time, but that's been a few years. So I'm kind of curious now. Maybe I'll have to go in there and look. Anyway, so this is it, guys. Any of these are, optional things. This is just what I do. Whether it's my client or a non-client he's requesting for it to go to him, or he's requesting for it to come to me, and I'm screamingly telling them no CD. I'll even take this and circle it. I think on my copy of this, I don't even have these. I have a really big no CD. And I give obviously, if you want it to your email address, you're going to have your physical address because I think it helps ID you. But you're going to want to make sure your email is loud and clear so they can't pretend to be confused. I would even circle it. So let's say you're saying yourself, maybe put your email here, right on this line. Big, maybe circle it, maybe highlight it. Your physical address would go here. But you're emphasizing you don't want the darn CD. You want it by email. CD, let's think about it. They don't send it UPS or FedEx or any of those more secure things. So they send it through what? The USPS. Just wondering, do you guys get lost postal mail? I get other people's mail. I presume they get mine. That's why I have my clients, if they're going to mail me something, mail it UPS. It costs more, but then don't mail it, fax it to me. Bingo. Okay. So I'm trying to get through this as fast as I can, guys. I think we're through it. I hope this helps. SSA-3288. All right. That is the rule. And when you send it, get confirmation you sent it. If you're going to fax it to them, keep your fax confirmed. Because later on, you can make complaints if you want. Maybe you read to your you don't get it. It's 4 months later, you still don't have a copy of your file. You've done everything correctly, and you contact your congressperson and say, I can't even get a copy of my file. They're violating my right to my copy, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I sent them. Here's a confirm that I sent it to them. I usually have to send these things more than once, guys. That shouldn't be the way it is, but it is. So I do give them the little leeway of I might send it, and then I might send it again in 2 weeks, maybe another week. Maybe then I'll send it to them 5 times in 1 week. It's fluid and it changes depending on the situation, right? But squeaky wheel. Sometimes it's what you got to do. All right, I'm going to unshare this. Okay. I hope that helps. SSA-3288. Again, if you have a representative who has access to the Social Security Electronic Records Express, this is unnecessary. But if you're trying to get one on, and we want to see your file, because we want to see if you kind of have a valid case right now for us to hop onto. And if our work will have any impact, then we do want to see your file. So it's a shame that you can't get this. To me, it seems like there should be like a 48-hour turnaround. But there's, or 2 business days, maybe, considering they can email it to you. We're not seeing that. It could be months. And by then your opportunity to appeal is gone. So you can't wait for it to do it. But you may have lost a chance for that representative to have on board too. So it's very unfortunate. I think they need to have a better system. And the fact that everything is electronic, there's really no excuse for not to be done in 48 hours or 2 business days. Okay. All right. Tally ho, guys. Happy New Year. Bye.